Let's move into the SEC play caller rankings, Mike, because again, you have South going to rank 12th. Marcus Satterfield ranked 11th overall. Clayton White ranked 9th overall. And again, you graded these SEC play caller rankings 12th overall. I'm curious, and I'm like I said, I'm totally fine with these ranks. I'm just more curious to get your take on it in the sense of, I think what's interesting is one of the things that was sold, Mike, when Shane Beamer got the job, at least the South Carolina fans, was he's going to go out and hire an elite staff. And you started hearing some names thrown around, some offensive coordinator names especially. And I graded the staff overall as a B. And I think some fans were left feeling a little underwhelmed, which, I said I can't blame them because, Marcus Satterfield, very much an unknown. He was the head man at Tennessee Tech. He worked under Joe Brady at the Panthers. Outside of that, it's like, what has he really done? Clayton White was at Western Kentucky, had really good defense. He's going to bring the 4-2-5 at Columbia. But again, is he really that splash, if you will? And I know we get all so caught up in the splash hire where it's like you more so need to focus on the right fit and bringing a guy who's going to bring a system that works where you are. You don't get so caught up. I mean, Mike Bobo technically is a splash hire, but we all see kind of how that worked. And Gamecock fans don't have any nice things to say about him. But when you look at those two guys, offensively, again, like I said, Satterfield is bringing that Joe Brady passing concept. And you think of Shane Beamer, he's been under Lincoln Riley. And obviously there are things they want to do, but it more so comes back to what you can do with this roster. But then defensively, the 4-2-5, like I said, coming back to Columbia, utilizing your athleticism up front. When you take a look at these two guys, like I said, you rank them 12th, and I understand that because of lack of experience, but what are the things you like, things you don't like? What do you make of these two coordinators, OC and DC?
Yeah, and I should mention with the offensive coordinators, Satterfield, and then you look at Kentucky's new coordinator, Liam Cohen, and LSU's
Yeah, I
new
guess they were all
coordinator,
ranked
Pease.
11th, huh? There's four of them ranked 11th.
And that's just because I just didn't feel right assigning those guys, one better than the other because
Right.
they kind of have similar backgrounds to where, NFL background or at a different level of college football that frankly I don't watch, and I'm not going back and watching Tennessee Tech tape.
I don't blame you.
Honest with you. So it's not. I didn't feel it was right to kind of rank one of those guys above the other. But I mean, how can you put them any higher when you've just not seen much from them? But you hit it right there. I mean, Joe Brady, his impact has been very real, not only on the SEC but in the NFL. And if that's what he's bringing to South Carolina, what do I have to judge that on is just looking at those offenses that they've run at Carolina last season in the NFL and LSU the year prior in the college ranks. I mean, it's very dependent on the quarterback and the receivers. And what's the biggest question marks I got for South Carolina? It's quarterback and receivers. So how effective can they run that offense? I mean, he's going to have to make major tweaks to it, I think, for South Carolina to have an effective offense this year. And that's assuming that Luke Doty is the answer, which he may very well be. But is he going to have the options to throw the ball to? I don't know. If I'm looking at South Carolina's roster, I'm leaning on, the best running back group in the SEC and a veteran offensive line. But how does that mesh with what Joe Brady's doing? I don't know that it does. So I'm not saying Marcus Satterfield can't adjust. If he's a good coach, he'll adjust. And then when it comes to Clayton White, it's like you said, he's had some very good defenses at Western Kentucky, and he was certainly not one that was a big name. But that just because you ain't getting a big name doesn't mean they're not that, big name means nothing on game day. It matters what you do when your opportunity comes. And this looks like it's Clayton White's time to, show what he can do at the highest level of college football. And it is funny that you mentioned that because, hey, I said the same thing. I thought Beamer, the appeal was he was going to hire these big name assistant coaches and we were going to ready to roll. I thought, and that's kind of, I hate to keep going back to Sam Pittman, but I thought that was like the game plan. That's what he did. And then Gamecock fans jump all over my ass because they said they don't want no SEC retread. So, hey, I hear you. I mean, maybe you got the best staff in the SEC now, but I think there's some value to having SEC experience in it. That doesn't mean that, like you said, you don't have to go hire the latest Nick Saban assistant to turn the thing around. I think, hell, I know Steve Sarkisian, Texas, is all fired up about it. To hell with that guy. Like, I've seen what he can do at multiple stops. You know what I mean? And he had 11 NFL players last year. So of course Alabama was kicking everybody's ass. So if you were to ask me, would I trade Shane Beamer for Steve Sarkisian, I would say hell no. I would not want a guy like that. So
And there
that's
were
my spiel
there were
you know?
Gamecock fans that wanted Sarkisian now.
Well, he's a big name, I guess.
Right.
But I've seen him drink his ass out of another job called SC, and I would not want that in Columbia.